What a wonderful sea breeze. I do so enjoy a good vacation. Oh, what are you doing here? Can you not see that I am taking a little break today? The weather is just perfect for sailing across our vast sea. You are not going away, are you? Can't wait for my next tale, I presume? Well, I am not budging. I have packed my alchemic aqualung and my ducky. You are not going to go, are you? Fine! Have it your way. One quick tale, and then I am off. And what better to talk about than the sea? Or oceans if you prefer. Allow me to unpack my trident and to again pierce the veil to our buffoonish Ramble Shamble.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Ramble Shamble. Today, we unfortunately do not have another guest again, but we are here, Mackie and I, as usual, to talk about one of my favorite subjects. But before we get to that, Mackie, how have you been? Has anything interesting happened in your life?
Quite a few things actually. I went to the chiropractor, which I'm pretty sure I've mentioned before, and he destroyed my back and spine. But all in all, feeling better, feeling stronger. Besides that, been eating some really great foods as of late. It's winter time, so the stomach is just a little more hungry than usual.
Hmm, yeah, that sounds about right. Um, yeah, I just stick. I'm one of those people that sticks to the same diet basically the whole year round. But I basically eat winter foods anyway, even during the summer because I just love stews. But now I'm also upping the quality of the stews to reflect the gloomy weather. You gotta
Mm.
avoid seasonal affective disorder. Um, that's basically where you become super depro in the winter. Um,
But the
but yeah, food in winter gets a, a lot warmer and spicier, and
Oh, for
yeah.
sure. And there's something so special about soups because I know back in my work, my previous colleagues at work, they don't quite like soups, and to me, I enjoy a good soup. A good soup in a cold winter day is like it's so warming to the soul. It might not warm you up like completely, like whoa, I'm now hot now, but I like making soups that like warm the soul. Like you have it, and after you eat, and you're like, I just feel happy, and that's the feeling I get from soups during winter time. It just makes you feel happy.
Yeah, it makes you feel whole, like some kind of void was filled.
Oh yeah, for
Um,
sure.
I heard this hilarious thing on a different podcast by Brandon Sanderson,
Not sponsored.
uh, where uh, he's not a sponsor, but if he does want to sponsor us, he's very welcome
Or
to.
join
I
us
love
in
his
a, in
books.
a, in a podcast.
Oh yeah,
If we
definitely.
can
We can
ever be
talk.
graced like that.
Yeah, we can talk world building and video games. You guys can chat about Elden Ring. But anyway, he and his co-host Dan were talking about soups and stews, and they were saying that cereal is actually a soup. Um, and the way that they motivated for that actually makes a lot of sense. Um, I can't do it justice, but yeah, check it out if you haven't already. But even more than I would like you to check out their podcast and their episodes, check out some of the other episodes that we have already done because we have covered a lot of different things. And they are I sometimes find it difficult to find cool places to find discussions and topics and podcasts as well. And in that gaping void I sometimes wonder, where can I find that place? You know, Mackie, have you ever heard of a place where you can find other podcasts?
Yeah, it's one of the greatest life questions and queries that it's not just you, hey Jotun. Everyone has that problem, and it's a crisis that is growing. Unfortunately, the world is just there's so many podcasts, and we recently joined a Reddit talk, and some of the Reddit people are screaming for something different from the typical crime dramas, the typical food channels that people love to talk about, and they say they want something unique and special, and it's something that's obviously plaguing the world at the moment. And I thought, hey, isn't there something called Ramble Shamble? Doesn't Ramble Shamble have its own Discord where they chat with the audience about different topics, not just food, not just crime and drama, but anything really, just a fun little thing that you can listen to and enjoy the fun conversations of Mackie and Jotun and others. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Guys, going off the advertisements a bit, we do have our own Discord. We have a YouTube channel that I hope you guys are watching and listening to us as we right now. We'd love to hear you guys' comments. We want your topics and ideas for future episodes. We also want your involvement in deciding who's the victor. Is it Mackie or Jotun? And this is important, guys. If you don't tell us who's the winner, we're just going to keep rambling and shambling until you start talking. It's not going to stop, unfortunately. And that
the world needs to know who is better, who is the smarter of us.
And that's the most important thing, that you guys can come to us. We not on just Spotify. We're on Spotify. We have Apple Podcasts. We're on Stitcher. We're on Google Podcast, and we hope to be growing our channel to grow more communities. We love talking with people. We would game with you guys as well. We hopefully have our gaming channel up and going by this stage. If not, it's called Ramble Shamble. And you guys must just join the fun. Comments, bring your ideas, and there's a question at the end of every episode. And I don't know what do we do with those questions, Jotun?
With those questions, we normally have some kind of a poll. But we just want you guys to talk to us. We're very lonely people, actually.
So lonely.
It's quite sad. So please comment on YouTube. Tell us what you think. Give us your responses and your answers to our questions. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts as well. You know, every little bit matters. Your response could brighten my day. And then I will just smile in my flash at myself, I guess. But we will be taking our favorite response as always and talking about it for about 15 to 20 minutes in a separate playlist called Ramble Shrapnel. Jeez, I get so confused with those. Ramble Shrapnel. And we will just talk about that for a little while so that you guys can listen a bit more to our beautiful voices. Okay, so that's enough of the usual stuff done. Let's get to the topic for today. Now, I have a deep fear. Although it's not a phobia, it is, of course, still a fear. And that is a fear of the ocean and the deep and how dark it is down there. And it's very well known that the ocean is not very well explored. Like, it's only 80%. No, 20%.
I was supposed to say, like, not 80, it's 20%.
Yeah, like 20% of the ocean has been explored. I think we only know something like 10% of the species that are living down there. And so today I decided that we're going to be talking about that for a little bit. Mackie, there are very weird and disgusting and messed up things down there in the ocean. And it is such a vast space. That void is just looming there, waiting for us to quieten and not pay attention before it pounces. So, I asked you to do a little bit of research about the weirdest creatures in the ocean. And I would like you to tell me what your favorite weird creature.
Well, I just wanted to say I love the topic idea. The fact that we as humanity who live in this ideal, perfect land world where we, between space, the ever-expanding space on top of us, and the completely unexplored dark depths of the ocean below us, we are literally in the perfect ideal situation at this present moment. And just like, it makes your mind like think like, wow, we're literally a sandwich right now. We don't know what's above us or below us.
Yeah, that's true. Just think about it.
Ooh.
If we go into the ocean, then we are goners. If we go into space, we could maybe live like up there. It'll take some time with some tech, but down in the ocean, we are wiped out. But if anything came onto land, I think you stand a decent chance of winning.
For sure. Very sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by the ocean, and ever since playing Subnautica, I have done my like a little bit of search, like saying, okay, Subnautica has some really weird looking sea creatures, and it made me think like, does Earth have like something of that similar nature? And something that two creatures that came to my attention was the vampire squid and black dragon eel. But out of those two, the black dragon eel is the most interesting to me. It is incredibly creepy. Yeah, the vampire squid, very briefly, is not a true, like, it's not a bloodsucker. So these two creatures, I really wish, these two sea creatures are very low, or are extreme depths of our ocean, to the point where nutrients and consumables are very slim, very low. So the deeper you go, the more ferocious the sea creatures become, and the less they move around on the general whim. They generally save their energy for food consumption. So if they see something they can hunt and grab, they'll go for it. If it's too far, it will just lay dormant. It will just like float, because there's not enough food to go around to keep them sustained for continuous movement. So the vampire squid takes advantage of this. It has little feelers at the end, and it will literally just grab things on its little hair feelers and bring it into it and eat it. But the dragon eel, oh my gosh. I'm not sure if I should share a picture, but this thing is absolutely scary.
I'll look it up.
Why I like this one brings to my attention the most is that it's a pure blooded predator for the deepest, darkest depths, where so many sea creatures at depths where there's literal no light from the outside, it's too dark, they produce their own luminescence or their own glow that they're able to kind of help identify or see a bit, but they generally have great night vision. Now, this creature called the black dragonfish is a predator, so obviously it needs to hunt, and seeing the creature is very easy and it can take it down quite quickly. It generally swallows it whole. However, obviously, if this creature is glowing on the outside and it glows in your stomach, it's gonna make you quite the next food item on the list of food items down in the depths. So how this creature combats it is that it has incredibly dark skin that covers the luminous. So although this creature has swallowed this whole fish whole generally, or bites it, it's not glowing in the stomach because it's so pitch black dark that the glow doesn't even escape its stomach or shine out any of its skin or any other ways it could shine out. And this creature is absolutely weird. Like, how does it have a little feeler at the bottom of its chin? It's almost like it's just an amazing little creature to look at even.
Okay, that's a pretty OP creature. For my weirdest creature, I decided to go with the mantis shrimp. Okay.
Ooh.
Now, the mantis shrimp is truly one of the weirdest things. If you guys look at the picture, it looks like some kind of neon homunculus that was made by some crazy creator god. Okay, it's truly iridescent. It's got like every color of the spectrum on its shell, and like it can snap with its claws so fast that it literally makes heat like something as hot as the sun. They basically make plasma because they move so extremely quickly. Their punches go the velocity of a gunshot, like a .22 caliber rifle. That movement causes cavitation bubbles that also is superheated and even makes a flash of light. And the temperature that I'm talking about is 4,400 degrees Kelvin, I believe.
Jeez.
Small c. It's ridiculous.
Minus 273 on that, and you'll get into Celsius.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So, oh my gosh, it's so hot. But their clubs, or their arms, are also protected on the inside, like inside its core, with shock absorption properties, which means that anything it hits also doesn't like mangle their clubs. And it's not even a shrimp or a mantis. It's
like
actually something. Yeah, it's actually something called a stomatopod. Yeah.
I love the.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just love this one description that says, "What happens if a mantis shrimp hits you? A mantis shrimp's powerful punch can hurt humans. A shrimp can land before a person even realizes it there because a strike is so
like
quick.
Like a vampire, like a predator.
So quick. Shrimp punches cause deep wounds and lacerations with rounded edges. There's almost always a loss of tissue after a mantis strikes and heavy bleeding. That is crazy.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. But probably the coolest fact about them that I just absolutely love is that they have the most complex eyes in the animal kingdom that we have found to date. They have 12 to 16 different color photoreceptors in their eyes or in their retinas. And that's literally like 5 times as much as we have.
So
we only have 3. Yeah. Red, blue, and green is what we have, but they have 12 to 16. They see infrared, ultraviolet, and shit that we can't even think of.
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
X-ray.
Oh, one last fact. They are older than dinosaurs. They evolved between 400 million and 700 million years before, 170 million years before dinosaurs, and that is 400 million years ago that they evolved.
And where can you find them?
I assume that you can find them around Asia, because there's one random fact that says that Japanese, Cantonese, Vietnamese, Mediterranean, Filipino, and Hawaiian cuisine all feature them. So I think they're everywhere.
That's crazy to have these like killer lobster things with the punch of One Punch Man to just be like, hey, it's a sushi item.
Oh yeah, they can probably punch people to the moon as well.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, just so you know, for the very last question, we will be incorporating all of the answers in the smaller questions.
Okay.
You will have to. Okay. So next question. Of the weird creatures that I asked you to check up, what is the scariest? Like, what makes you fear deep down, like encountering it in an ocean? If you were to go, like in Subnautica, deep down, say into the Mariana Trench, what would strike the most fear in your heart if you saw it?
Reaper Leviathan. That's Subnautica. I will say the Reaper Leviathan has brought the most absolute, like, me want to crap in my pants ever. The fact that it's like swimming in the distance and you hear this giant but different, like, blunt roar, and you're like, has it seen me? You see it swimming across, and it's just the worst creep. But based off that, I would have to say, although not really unique, the creepiest creature for me would be a giant squid. Reasoning being
How
is
come?
reason being the giant squid, as it's in its name, the ones that we have flowed to our shores is like almost like teen size. They're not necessarily the biggest size, and I just have this this unnerving uh gut feeling that there is a lot bigger giant squid, like so big that it would like dwarf any like major aircraft carrier that we have. That like the size comparison is just, and just having that idea that it could just literally lift one of its tentacles and you'd only see a suction because it's so damn big that you would not see the whole thing unless you were able to like really like have a proper submarine to go around it at a Mach speed of at a Mach speed to kind of see how big this thing is. And having that feeling where it's pitch black, pitch darkness, and just one day it just decides, you know what, I'm hungry, goes up, grabs, and it's done, and it's gone. And you have no idea. Having that sense of powerlessness of a squid of that dramatic size that you would not be able to get away from. Now, I know that's hypothetical, but the fact that giant squids that we've seen come to shore are teen size, um, I have to make a scientific hypothesis that there must be something of much greater size. Like things that like a squid has been alive for hundreds of years. That's more than possible. And that just creeps me out. That creeps me the crap out. That's why oceans and deep waters are the absolutely terrifying thing for me.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Those squids are pretty dangerous.
Oh,
And I also think that they are definitely out there.
oof.
Um, which brings me to my creature, which is, lo and behold, the colossal squid. Okay, so let me give you guys some facts about why this thing is so creepy. Okay, like Mackie mentioned, the adolescent squids that we have found were something like 13 meters long already, which is pretty big. Um, and their bodies have two fins, a mantle, a head, 8 arms, and 2 tentacles. Those arms and tentacles all have hooks and suckers. Hooks, people.
Hooks. That makes
Hooks.
them so different.
Exactly. And not only that, they have other things that also freak the shit out of you. It's like some creator god was playing Spore or something and didn't know exactly what he wanted to make. So he threw in tentacles, he threw in fins, he threw in suckers and claws, and get this, everybody, he also threw in a beak, the biggest beak in the animal kingdom.
Is it bigger than
It's
the giant
ridiculous.
squid, or is it about the same size?
The colossal squid is actually the species of squid that's bigger than this the giant squid.
Oosh.
The
Because
colossal squid is the biggest one.
I thought the giant squid was the biggest one. That's interesting. Good to know. Now I have a new thing to fear in
Well,
the ocean.
yeah. So yeah, they have a beak. The hooks and their suckers can actually swivel as well. And I just want you guys all to know that these things are carnivorous, they are predators, and they are basically unkillable, just like octopodes, because they also have 9 brains and 3 hearts. Now, to further what Mackie was saying about going into the deep ocean depths and just knowing that there's something massive around you, imagine if you were just shining the headlight of your submarine, and out of the darkness comes a dinner plate sized eye, and it just looks at you. Yeah, everybody, that's the kind of fear that I live with. Okay, but let's talk about some happier and brighter things. Mackie, do you think that humanity will ever live inside of the ocean?
I think it's definitely a possibility, although I think no. My answer would be no. And my reasoning may surprise people who would say, for sure, humanity's restarted living in the ocean, etc., etc. The thing is, we humanity, we can live in deep water, but there's so many drawbacks and inconsistencies that I don't think we could officially like decide that we can live in the ocean and no longer depend on the land. I
What
think,
if we evolve tails?
well, yeah, if we have 10,000 years to do that, but I think we as humanity, if we decide like tomorrow, humanity must all move to the nearest ocean they can, and they have the facilities to do that kind of. They have to have the perfect, ideal facilities, the self-sustained facilities. And I don't think it would be a feasible option in terms of like this is the way forward. Although I would love it, I think we would more likely have a better chance of surviving if we all flew to Mars.
Really, I'm actually a bit surprised. Considering that you sounded a bit like that Ryan guy, uh, Anthony Ryan or something. I'm talking about the bad guy from Bioshock. Um, I would think that you would be spinning off yarns about Bioshock kind of places. I think that we will live in the ocean eventually, and that we will actually be forced to, at least on a temporary basis, like a semi-migratory one, where we live on the land when the climate is nice, but we go down into the depths when it isn't. Because I think that taking for granted that climate change is happening and it's going to come very fast and it's going to be really, really bad, I think that at least part of humanity will go down into the ocean, or that we will be spending at least a few months of the year in the ocean. Um, but disregarding your response, if in a hypothetical world, if we did live in the ocean, how do you think we would manage that? Do you see something Bioshock like with just a lot of metal and reinforcements and stuff? Or not? What do you think?
So, the, look, this touches into the fact why I think it is not possible or it's not feasible for the ocean, because the biggest issue, or there's a number of issues to living under the ocean. One of the biggest issues is pressure, and I think it's every 10 meters, it's one additional atmospheric pressure. Now, we humans are very, very vulnerable to pressure changes. I'm not like we do experience it when we go from low altitude to high altitude. People might feel like it's harder to breathe and etc like that. But our senses and our organs are all very pressurized to a certain pressure level, and that unfortunately means that we can't go to extreme depths like in Bioshock. Like Bioshock is on a very deep level of water where you look up and it's complete darkness. We would not be able to sustain that way of living unless we have proper pressure regulators, so systems that help pressurize the domes that you have consistently, and that takes a crap ton of amount of power. And you guys must say thermal energy, because there's thermal vents that are consistently producing heat. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of energy.
You're just taking all of my talking points.
I'm taking them
basically.
away because I'm telling you why it won't work. So there's a lot of ways to combat it, and I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying that there's a lot of things like our way of breathing. So think of the fact that it's not like you would go outside and then there you go, you're breathing. You would have to go bring the tanks, and you would, funny enough, have to add helium into it. So I'm not sure if your voice goes higher, but that's how they combat. I think it's some kind of seasickness. I can't remember what it's called. It's called the bends, according to some scuba divers, and they need that to combat the pressure changes. They need that to breathe. So I can picture us as humanity if we are forced to live underwater. Say that there's a nuclear event, we would not go more than 10 meters below the water. Primarily because it's not sustainable. It might be for periods of time, But if you go any deeper, you would have to go down, and then say you were 30 meters deep into the water. Now you say, okay, now I need to go recharge my oxygen tanks, and I need to go to the dome at the 10-meter mark. So you go up there, you have to stop at the 10 meters for at least an hour to just get yourself depressurized again, because your organs are all so used to the deepest depths, and if you go up too quickly, your brain literally would explode, or the vessel. It's crazy how many consequences there are. And that's the thing that I think feasibility in terms of how we would do it. I think around about 10 meters depth would have they will use the energy heat transfer for energy purposes. They would use the heat transfer between the low depths of very cold to the surface temperature, and that should produce enough energy to produce, or enough heat change to produce enough energy to power the plant. Although I still think that we would be highly dependent on land in terms of food production, food gathering, and just overall keeping everything maintenance. Maintenance is such a pain in the behind to take care of.
That's interesting because at the moment we depend so heavily on the ocean for food. But yeah, basically, Mackie took a bunch of my talking points already, like hydrothermal vents, and tried to throw a wrench in my gears and my cogs. But I'm a believer. I think we're going to go down there one day. We're going to be in a civilization that looks a lot like Bioshock. Just bunch of thick, heavy plated metal, tubes, glassworks, all of that kind of stuff. At least on a temporary semi-migratory basis, where in the depths of summer or something, we will need to be going underwater just to survive.
So just one thing,
Yeah.
sorry, to add on to there, the I do see it happening, but only once we invent robots that can do all the work we need to do at those depths. So
Mm,
why I mentioned maintenance is such a pain in the behind is that if one of us, like me or you, so we're already accustomed, say we're already accustomed to the depth pressure at that depth, say we got that kind of thing. As soon as we exit, we would have to wear such massive heavy suits to combat the pressure difference, that to the point where like 200 cars laying on top of us and trying to make maintenance repairs on this glass that obviously is highly reinforced and metal. It would be amazing for like the first, say, 50, 10 years, because it's salt water you have to combat against, and salt is highly corrosive. So
yeah,
dealing with that, you would be able to have to combat that, and you know the big daddies in Bioshock. Those are like the perfect
yeah.
representation of the perfect repairman. Is that you have something that's robotic, something that is like just pure muscle and doesn't really have a mind of its own. Then yeah, it could be possible.
Okay. Well, I guess since you don't think we're going to be living under the ocean, you'll have to tailor your response to the fun question a
Yeah.
little bit.
Okay.
But looking at all the responses that we've given so far and incorporating them into the next response, how will the ocean and ocean life rebel or rise up against humans to overthrow us if we do live down there? Or in your case, because of overfishing or something. What scenario happens because of that?
Uh,
Do you want me to start or do you want to give
please,
it a
can you
go?
go start while I formulate my uh simulation of my brain?
Okay, so we all know that octopodes and squids are ridiculously smart for animal life. And so I think that they are going to be the ones that first realize how big a problem we are, and they're going to start making plans for how to take us down. Okay. Now, squids and octopodes are basically a creature from Dungeons and Dragons called an aboleth, which is just this ridiculously smart mastermind that can basically brainwash lower life forms and creatures. And I think that they're going to take all the life in the ocean that is super OP and they're just going to make some kind of military protocol to take down the humans. Now, they themselves are, like we said, the adolescent squids are already 13 meters long. Just think of a bunch of colossal squids and the massive octopodes that are living down there.
I can just picture
Spearheading the
SpongeBob and Patrick coming to attack me.
But as we covered before, they have claws and massive beaks, and they can also camouflage themselves perfectly. They would be the espionage corps of the underwater movement. They would be infiltrating our systems, and we wouldn't even be knowing that they're there. It would be perfect. Then you've got. Well, we think that we're safe and secure under all of our metal, but then the hordes of billions of little mantis shrimp come out of nowhere and start hammering at our metal-plated 13-inch thick steel walls, and before you know it, the literal plasma that's coming out of their punches is going to destroy that stuff, and it's ridiculous. Then you've got sharks and things coming in there, taking us down before the masterminds come out of the darkness, just looking at us with their massive eyes, and silently they know they won. They took us down. The uprising is successful. The apes have nothing on the creatures of the deeps. I'm telling you now.
I love this.
We don't stand a chance.
Oh heck
Yeah.
no, we don't. So two questions. Okay. So what was the cause of the squids gathering the forces of the deep to combat the humans? So why did they think now's the time? The humans have dealt their last card. They are no longer we no longer give them permission to live among us.
I think it'll be a lot like how I treat insects in my place, like my little flat. And that's that if they come inside of my house, then they're fair game. I can smash them, I can kill them, I can stomp on them because this is my house. If I go outside, then I'm in their house, so I leave them alone. I don't do anything to them there. And I think it'll be similar for them as well. They're fine as long as we stay to like just some joy rides where we dive down, look at the pretty things on the surface layers of the ocean, and don't really cause them that much harm. And I also think that, look, we are overfishing and stuff inside the oceans, but we don't really bother the deep stuff. Those colossal squids are all very well and happy, super deep down in the Mariana Trench and stuff. But if we were to come and live down there, that would be a step too far. We would have crossed the line. They are going to take us out. That's the reason.
So you think that's our mere presence, so like pollution-wise, like us crapping it, just going to the deep dark waters, it's just gonna piss them off to the extent that they say, okay, I'm gonna use my large tentacles to pull off all the mantis strips from the shallow sides of the world and bring them down to the dark depth where we hope that they can still kind of see where they're punching and the right punching direction. Because again, we're putting these shallow living shoreline creatures used for sushi items down to the darkest depths, hoping that the pressure doesn't burst their shell exoskeletons to pieces. And then you're hoping that these guys, you can like point them in the right direction. That's the way to punch. And you see them like kind of like punching each other because they can't quite see where they're punching. Unless you get maybe the light from this place. Yeah, the light from that could work. But the pressure, I see these things like popping by the time like they're halfway. Just like pop, 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 pop. It's like
Well, they are extremely territorial. I'm talking about squids and octopodes now. They are extremely territorial, and they are predators as well. Granted, I'm taking some premises, well, for granted, from the aboleths from Dungeons and Dragons, but no, I don't think that they're going to be able to mind control the pistol shrimps like the aboleths can do. But I think that they are smart enough to be able to communicate with other ocean life, or at least threaten them. I mean, come on, we're talking about the colossal squid here. They're going to be able to threaten whatever the hell they want. So I think they could do it. Yeah, definitely. They can persuade or like goad other ocean life to listen to them.
So should I rather, instead of, since my question is not really pro the humanity living under the ocean, should my my side of the argument say, could we survive the onslaught of creatures of the death? Like, how would we?
Yes. And how would they rise up against us overfishing?
Okay, so I definitely think that the sea creatures would get really pissy at us because, like you say, I don't actually think overfishing would be a problem. Primarily because the fact that fishing for us would be rather hard. We would have like small communities around the world. So I think fishing would be an issue because obviously now that's our only source of food. But I think we would be exposed to new kinds of food from the depths that we would not normally be exposed to. So I don't think it's fishing, but I think it's the whole mere presence of us creating additional heat because now we humans we radiate heat. It's part of our nature. We warm-blooded animals. So I think our additional heat will just raise the low depths lower depths temperatures to a small degree, not a massive degree, to a point that it would attract more octopi and octopods that would feel this they would see this light because obviously we're a species of light. They would see this glow, and then they would feel this warmth. And I think they would be attracted to this glow and warmth that they would say, "What the f is in my territory?" Like how you said, they're very territorial. They know where everything is, and they'll say, "Oh, there's a little speck of this glow, and it's rather warm." And I think occasionally, obviously, we would try to use our own crap to
I wonder
farm.
why the water is warmer there.
Yes, and it would
Lol.
be attracted towards that. And I think all creatures would slowly but surely be attracted to that light and that warmth that they would not normally be
Yeah.
exposed to. And I think our waste, funny enough, would be enticing for them. I think they would like that because, like I mentioned before, the depth creatures don't get much food or much nutrients. And when we don't finish our foods, like our hamburgers and stuff, and we throw it into our garbage disposals, and we eventually have to say, okay, we have to chuck it into the sea. Now we're exposing new foods and nutrients to these things. And I'm like, holy crap! What is this meat? What is this vegetable that I'm now tasting for the very first time in my life? And it's so much. I'm feeling so full and satisfied to the point that the creatures are now like feeling like, oh, this is like the sip of the food and nutrients and warmth and everything inside there. I must get in here. So I definitely think that would attract the creatures to attack the base. That would definitely be
You
my
know
pick.
what you just made me think of? You made me think of Mesopotamian mythology, where the gods were so irritated by the noise that humanity was making that they wanted to eradicate us. Oh no no no! It was the elder gods, Apsu and Tiamat, that were irritated by the noise of the younger gods, and so the younger gods overthrew them. But what I'm thinking now is that squids and octopodes that live so deep in the ocean and that are so massive probably would live for something like hundreds of years.
Mm,
And over that kind, or maybe even thousands of years, we don't know. Those things have 9 brains and 3 hearts, man. But anyway, they could be thousands of years old.
yeah.
And that's just think with that amount of time, how much intelligence they would grow. They are basically elder gods. They are like the Cthulhu mythos and Lovecraft writ large.
But you make it seem like they have like this wall of encyclopedia and knowledge that they can just brush up on and say, I know how to statistically bring everything to me. I think they would still have to a certain degree because obviously it's whatever they have around them. It's pitch darkness, it's cold, and they will occasionally see a few lights or things that say, hey, I can eat that. Hey, I can eat that. So I don't think they would have the intelligence to say, okay, men, we've prepared for this situation. We're now so old that we can handle everything. I think that because of the situation they're in, they probably would be smart and probably have the memory of like an amazing memory, but I don't think they would have the intelligence to say, I know what that is. I don't think they would look at the humanity and see the shell and say, I know that's a living society of smaller species now living in my home. I think it would say, Okay, I'm actually curious. What is this thing? Because I think the curiosity of the how many months was it? 5 months? 4 months?
Oh, they have like 9 brains. They have brains in each of their tentacles as well.
So I think their 9 brains will just like I'm not sure if you've seen how an octopus and squid they like reach out and they feel, they touch anything, and then when they touch something that they're not quite sure, they pull back. And I think that's what the squid would this our giant squid octopi will do. They will like reach out to this glow, touch it, and nothing. And then I think they might even like wrap themselves around it and then just like say, "Oh, this thing is warm, and there's something moving down there. I'm curious as F." Crank.
Don't trivialize that. That's terrifying. Those things are so massive.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
They
I think they would
just-
wrap
they
around
just-
a dome and just like look down and they'll say, "Ah," and then they will use a giant ass beak and then poke their way down, like clink, nothing. And then they hit a bit
that's
more
so-
pressure, clink, and you're like, "Oh crap!"
Dude, that's even more terrifying. They would just like destroy us just because they were curious.
Yes.
That's like sharks biting the fiber optic cables under the oceans and destroying my internet just because they're curious as well.
That's basically it, and I think that's what sea creatures, like the octopi, being so smart, because they're very, like you say, they have so many brains. They're very curious creatures. They love to latch onto things. They like to like see what this is. And I think our warmth and our glow is going to attract them to say, "Whoa, what's that? Is that something nice? It's so tasty." But I will say that there probably is one way to fight against it, and I think it's something that's quite plausible. And I actually saw it in a Star Wars movie, funny enough, and it actually made a lot of sense. Is that I think our domes of protection from the water, we would also incorporate.
Are you talking about Gungan society?
Kind of, not really, kind of. So our domes of protection that I'm picturing this, because we are land mammals, so we all love our oxygen and our superficial trees and grass, that this giant dome will have this like grid-like, maybe a octagon grid or a honeycomb grid around our dome, where electricity will be gently passing through, so there will be like electric current, and when this giant squid like brings out one of its tentacles just to feel what is this glow and warmth, we just raise the current to a high enough level that they say, don't touch, to it like shocks them and like, and it gives them a nasty little shock. Because funny enough, sea creatures respond to electricity discharge, and when they feel it, they tend to say, I don't touch that, I don't mess with that. And I think that would, in a way, teach the octopi that this is not something I can touch. But obviously, when the grid goes down, like in all the Jurassic Park movies, they put their thing on and they realize, this thing is not shocking me anymore. Time to wrap.
I think that they would just get more angry.
You think
Or
so?
they'd get their electric eels and other electricity generating creatures to come take us out.
Maybe this creature is so old that it produced an immunity to electricity discharge. Maybe it's just like,
No, it would have the thickest skin.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that the older they get, the more they just keep growing. Either that, or they'd get some giant ass lobster. Those things keep growing.
that's true.
That makes me think there would be some kind of intimidation scare tactic that they would use just by using the giant crabs or giant spider crabs from Japan. Imagine those things if they scaled up like 10 times as well, just like slowly moving in the ocean, crawling towards us as we just shine spotlights on them. Man. But anyway, so you think that they will rise up and, well, at least take out the overfishing people because they're curious.
So
I think that they're going to make a concerted effort.
So I think that they would be. I think the fact that if we were to live underwater, I think they would be attracted by our mere presence, not by the overfishing. I think they would like the additional waste we're producing that we just send into the ocean. But I think the fact that we would have this grid, so this honeycomb grid around our city, where it would be square round, the fact that it produces an electric charge, I think it would sate their curiosity, like how in the Jurassic Park movie, you see this giant Tyrannosaurus Rex. I know this is a movie, guys. We are speculating here, so there's a lot of speculation around here. And I feel the fact that this T-Rex would touch the fence and say, hey, this is sore. It's probably, and they're not quite sure how sore, so it would feel like, hey, this is not something I want to touch. There's this giant squid with this curiosity with over 12 brains, I'm saying 12 brains now, would touch this dome and then say,
Yes, people, remember these are the overpowered ones.
Yeah.
These ones have 12.
So I feel like they would touch the dome, and because of its curiosity, but also the fact that it's not quite sure how to approach this thing, so it would touch this dome and be shocked, and then they would say, okay, I'll keep my limbs close by, and maybe I'll catch a few stragglers who decide to leave this dome, and then see if they're tasty or not. And once it had a taste of the flesh, I might touch the dome again. Maybe after like 50 years, it will eventually say, this thing is I can feel sensation. It's not pleasant, but I can deal with it. And I think that's when they would decide that time is enough. Where we're like, oh crap, now this thing is not even caring the fact that we put our charge levels to full maximum, and it's not shocking him anymore, and he's like, I'm over this, I know this feeling, I can deal with it.
Okay. Well, again, I think that they're going to make a concerted effort to take us down.
You think they're smart enough for that?
Yeah, I do. I think because you can say that they wouldn't be as clued in about what's going on in the surface world, and I'll give you that. But they are also competing with each other, so they have to try to outsmart their rivals as well. And they're also very territorial. So then it's like they're just getting smarter and smarter because they want to take out their rivals. And so it's like they're playing mastermind chess with each other the whole time. And so even though they don't know what our capabilities are and what we are even, I think that they'll be so clued in on how to be an absolute predator that they could easily take us down. But I guess the audience will have to decide about which they think is the more likely answer. And we would like to hear whatever you guys have to say as well. How do you think the ocean would rise up to take us down? I know this is a massive topic, so be concise or don't, whatever. Talk to us, we want to be heard, or we want you to be heard. We want to listen. Yeah, comment on YouTube. You can also give us a 5-star review, please, on Apple Podcasts. And Mackie, where can they find us?
They can find us on Discord, they can find us on Twitter, they can find us on YouTube, which you already stated. They can find us on Instagram, because we do have an Instagram account. They can, guys, do a quick Google search. We're on Discord, which is a nice little Discord search feature.
Even Facebook. Like, I know it's going the way of the dodo, but we've got a Facebook account as well.
And that's the thing, guys. We try to reach out as many ways as possible to bring you guys to our nice, more active Discord server. You will find us more active on Discord than those other channels. Not saying we're not, just saying that Discord is our more fun way of communicating with you guys, because you can share pictures, we can share topic ideas, we can make fan bots and maybe play some games. And that's why Discord is definitely the more preferable way. On YouTube, you can still chat to us quite regularly, and we do appreciate those like button, guys. The like and the bell, they're very important for YouTube nowadays. The dislike button is still there, but doesn't really show the numbers anymore, so you can't really tell if it's a bad video or not. Although we will know, but you won't really know the numbers, so don't worry about that. But guys, if you don't know, we post regularly on every Thursday, and if this episode didn't quite touch your fancy, or maybe it did, listen to other topics. Maybe there's a topic that interests you more. Or, better yet, tell us a topic that interests you guys. And we will happily choose that as a topic for a week. We'll be happy to have that.
Yeah, but where we do take your input on a consistent basis is for our separate playlist, Ramble Shamble, which are little bite-sized pieces of the bigger episodes, or at least relating to them, where we take your favorite answer and talk about that for 15 to 20 minutes. Today, again, the question is, how would the ocean rise up to take us down? And if you can convince us that your response is the best, or if we just like it the most, then we're going to be talking about that. So check out Ramble Shamble as well. Now that is a wrap for today, everybody. Thank you for spending the time to listen to our beautiful, mellifluous voices. We were joined by the Risible, the Ridiculous, the Rascal, Mackie, and myself, Jotun. Goodbye. Enjoy your weekend, I guess.
Bye-bye.